Hello, everyone. I'm Shannon Bream, along with Kennedy, Jessica Tarlov, Charlie Hurd, and Greg Gutfeld. It is 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. The media going into overdrive to help Vice President Kamala Harris erase her biggest electoral liability, her far-left record. Despite Harris being rated 2019's most liberal senator by GovTrack, there's been some change to that. Well, the ladies of The View, Democrats, and others in the press are attempting to rewrite the vice president as just a moderate.
Prosecutors are not really leftists. They put people in jail for a living, okay? They're pretty moderate. I know the vice president personally. She is not, she's moderate.
The radical in this campaign, Michael, is not Kamala Harris, as all the Trump advertising is saying now. The radical right-winger is Donald Trump.
This shocking radical left agenda is actually mainstream economic populism.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans just lie, lie, and lie. Her record is very clear for anybody who wishes to take a look at it.
And it's not stopping her past from coming back to haunt her like a freight train. I don't know if they haunt people, but in this case, they do. Just today, a resurfaced interview emerged from 2020 where Harris offered some praise for the defund the police movement.
Defund the police. The issue behind it is that we need to reimagine how we are creating safety. For too long, the status quo thinking has been you get more safety by putting more cops on the street. Well, that's wrong. This whole movement is about rightly saying we need to take a look at these budgets and figure out whether it reflects the right priorities.
And that's not all. The vice president will also have to answer for her far-left positions on these issues.
We're not going to treat people who are undocumented and cross the border as criminal. There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
Would you support changing the dietary guidelines, reduce red meat specifically?
Yes, I would. I am prepared to get rid of the filibuster to pass a Green New Deal. The idea is that everyone gets access to medical care, and you don't have to go through the process of going through an insurance company. Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on.
All right, so Kennedy, those positions are popular with a lot of people. Do you think she'll embrace them and say, yeah, I am standing by that? You can't use it against me.
She did with the AFT the other day when she spoke in front of the teachers union. You know, she was very transparent about bowing down before the body that kept kids out of school for 2 years. I thought that was a bit of a stumble on her part. It's going to be a tough sell, but I'm actually glad we're having a conversation about the issues and not about memes and personality, because we have been sold on memes. We were sold, not all of us, certainly not me, but people were sold on the idea, the kitschy idea of dark Brandon. And we don't want to be spoon-fed that again. Her record is very problematic because it's all over the map. You know, on one hand, she's a ruthless authoritarian with the people that you absolutely should not be targeting in her home state of California. On the other hand, she is an open borders Democrat who has no solution congressionally or otherwise for the border crisis that she certainly exacerbated as border czarina, which she was. That's what she was anointed. And as much as they try and scrub that history and give us a revisionist lens, she's been on the wrong side of so many issues. And the red meat thing, you know, that was a new one that a lot of people forgot about. And they don't want the government messing with their bodies. You know, if someone is so pro-abortion that their personal orthodoxy is we're going to keep the government out of your body, out of your lower half, then the same goes for what I eat. I'm sorry.
Until it comes to eating bugs. That's a different decision. We may have to eat bugs, apparently.
Well, it's something some of us do as a fetish on the weekends.
Well,
and I make no apologies.
Anything dipped in chocolate might work.
Absolutely right.
Okay, so we also have this this vibe around her now that feels like President Biden before he dropped out and pre-debate, Charlie. It's sort of like he can do no wrong. These all are cheap fakes. These are cheap shots at him. And he is with it. He's exciting. He's our guy. And then they turned on him. But now it feels like we're getting the same treatment with the vice president.
Yeah, we're going to see the biggest rewrite of a political career that the media has ever done, like since the invention of electricity. I love Kennedy's optimism that this is going to be about issues. I hope it is. I'm afraid that it's just a few of us talking about the issues. I think a lot of people are just talking about personality and the memes and stuff like that. And of course, I think that's the sort of the strategy that Democrats are playing. But this is why you have an actual campaign, why you have a primary, is so that these things, they're now in a situation where she is getting her first big exposure as a presidential candidate. And it's during the general election, and everybody is pawing through and finding all these crazy Democrat red meat policies that are going to be terrible in a general election, but she's having to struggle with them right now. If you want Donald Trump to do well, that's a good thing, but I still worry that there's going to be such an effort to make this as hysterical as possible, to talk about whatever they have to talk about so that they don't have to talk about the issues. Because when you go through that list of issues that you just did, like defunding the police, open borders, abolishing private health care, the Green New Deal, all these kind of things, it's a total loser for Kamala Harris. And Trump is right on all of them.
Well, Jessica, were you surprised at all that this coalesced together as quickly as possible around the vice president? Do you think it would have been beneficial? As Congressman Clyburn had said, let's let them fight it out. He was supporting her, but he said it's actually good for testing her and everybody else who might be her number two through this process.
I certainly think it would have made great programming and that people would have liked to have seen it. But the truth of the matter is we don't have much time. And this was Joe Biden's decision. And the delegates, a lot of them have spoken out about this. They voted for, or they're representing Joe Biden's wishes. And he is part of the Biden-Harris administration. And in that sense, it makes sense that this was her nomination. So we have 3.5 weeks until the DNC. We have 102 days until the election. I'm fine with this. She represents a lot of where the party is, and not the Kamala Harris of 2020, but the Kamala Harris of today. And that is the maneuver that she's going to have to make. And I think that she has a lot to say. I mean, if you watch the whole video, for instance, when she was talking about defunding the police, the point she was making is really salient. She was talking about what a safe neighborhood looks like. And it's not crawling with cops, right? It has great schools. It has thriving small businesses. It has really high home ownership, which has been a priority of the Biden-Harris administration to make sure that people can get on the property ladder. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, as it were, of what the Biden-Harris administration did it. The most delicious flavor of it at all. They have invested more in law enforcement than any other administration in history. Donald Trump actually proposed a 58% cut to the community policing program. They put 3,700 police officers on the street through that program. Another 100,000 that came in through the Safer America plan. The American Rescue Plan had $15 billion in it for crime and policing to make sure that we have safer communities. It's a strong record to run on. The border right now, we were talking about this. Jennifer Griffin was tweeting about the two Sinaloa cartel bosses that were apprehended. She said that it was like catching bin Laden when it comes to the war against fentanyl. That happened under the Biden-Harris administration. Encounters at the border are down 55% since the executive order.
These are all things out of hitting numbers that had wildly spiked after the Trump administration. Not back down to those numbers.
I understand that, and you obviously have to acknowledge that there were huge spikes, but it doesn't mean that she's the same person that you saw in 2020. She oversaw the implementation of the policies that have led to all of these good results.
Okay, so she owns this then, all of the policies of this administration. Do you worry, Greg, that there's always that honeymoon period? We keep talking about this. It shows up for any candidate, D or R, when they're new to the race. Because it's so close to the election, do you feel there will be a full vetting of her actual record?
Well, the media always follows this predictable pattern, and I don't think the American people are going to fall for this. We're in this period of Kamala denialism, right? It's like the world is in a serious place. America is in a serious place. We have malaise, we have unrest, we have kind of a lack of adult supervision. Like who's in charge? So they need to portray her as the serious person who could handle this. But you can't do that if the person was for defunding the police, if the person was for open borders, if the person likes to take credit for the Afghanistan withdrawal, how soon are they going to rewrite that one? There's so many things that she says that contributes to her kind of unserious persona that they need to erase this stuff. And they're doing it right in front of us. I talked about this before. The definition of arrogant stupidity is when you try to gaslight a bunch of people. It's like, it's like those hypnotists who try to hypnotize everybody, and everybody's there going, this is BS. You can gaslight one person alone. I can say to Kennedy, wear your glasses, and you're saying they're on your face, and I'll say, wear your glasses. I can get you to think maybe you're crazy, but you can't do that to millions of people. And you can't do that when there's so much evidence out there. It is amazing to me that the media will continue to do this. And I go back to the fact that everybody should remember what Twitter was like when it was still owned by the old crew. If it was owned by those pre-Musk people, you wouldn't see the pushback over police defunding, the border czar, bailing out felons. None of that, all that stuff would be suppressed like Hunter's laptop story. It would be buried like Jimmy Hoffa. But now it's like Twitter or X has turned everybody into their own debunkers. And so I wonder how the legacy media can still maintain this gaslighting role if the public can so quickly and easily call them out on it. And it's because they just assume their allies are there for them and they can continue doing this. I mean, it is comedy to watch them do this, and they're still doing it. But I think to back to your point about the honeymoon's among the media.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's not, there's no honeymoon for people who are going to the grocery store and seeing the prices or dealing with crime in their cities or their lack of police.
And the other thing that gets glossed over by the media is the fact that not only is Kamala Harris the most radically left-wing politician who's ever run for president, but she's running against the least ideological, least partisan, most common sense sort of practical politician that we've ever had in my life.
You're like the only person that thinks that.
Oh, no. If you look at the issues,
that he's the most common sense
Oh,
person.
yeah, absolutely. You look at the border, you look at all of those issues, you look at the issue of abortion that has gotten him into trouble.
Okay.
All of those things.
He said, it's up to the states. I did this. There are
American
6-week abortion bans,
that got
even
him
in his own state.
Yeah,
but remember, there are also
he's not in trouble with Democrats. He's in trouble with evangelical Republicans, but he's still standing for a more practical stance.
There are also states, as our democracies, our laboratory of democracies. There are also states that go through the due
and
date.
JD Vance doesn't want you to even be able to go to another
I don't understand
state
why sending abortion back to the states is somehow worse than having the Supreme Court or Roe v. Wade. You're getting it closer to the community. Isn't that what it's all about?
We got to go. We're going to take Family Feud into the commercial overtime.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.